Greetings, people. It's Paul here at Greenshire Homestead. I'm going to talk to you about about mulch. I've talked a lot about mulch in my gardening videos. If you've seen any of my videos where I'm talking about my garden beds, aside from not using a rototiller, the most important thing you can do is keep your garden beds mulched. It's going to provide your beds are going to stay. They're going to stay more damp. They're going to have a lot more worms. They're going to have more microbes. They're going to have more fungus. They're going to have all that stuff that makes plants grow well. So I've mentioned that my chickens create my mulch for me, and I want to actually take the camera into the yard. I want to show you how I use this process of the chickens creating my mulch for me. At the end of the video, I'm also going to talk about how to use hay as mulch if you don't have chickens. So if you got chickens and you want to see that, I'm going to do it. And if you don't have chickens and you want to fast forward through it, at the end of the video I'm going to tell you what to do if you don't have chickens. So we'll go on in the yard here. So there's my girls. They're doing the work for me. You see what we've got here. I confine my chickens. I would prefer to have them free range, but I have to confine my chickens because we were just losing too many to predators, and since we've confined them, we haven't lost any. So if you are going to confine your hens, you're not going to have any grass in your chicken yard after about 2 years. They will completely eliminate the grass, and that's fine because you need to be letting them do the work here and creating your mulch. What I do is I buy 2 large round bales of hay at a time, and I put it down behind my shop, that shop over yonder. We just had a pond dug this year, so that's what that big crater is. We didn't have a bomb go off or anything. Behind that shop I've got 2 round bales of hay. One round bale of hay is equivalent to 30 square bales approximately. So I've got approximately 60 square bales of hay back there. Sounds like a lot, but I go through a lot. I put a heavy amount of hay in here. You would not be able to see the 2x4s around the bottom of this perimeter after I put the hay in, because it's going to be over a foot tall, and it's going to be the entire area there is going to be covered with a thick layer of hay. But they've already started breaking it down. I put this hay in here in April. It's been in here for 4 or 5 weeks, and it's about half the volume that it was when I first put it in here. It's still going to break down, but it's not going to break down a lot more. What it's going to do is just get funky, and when I say that, it's going to get rained on. The chickens are going to poop in it. They're going to continue to turn it, and the any seed that's in the hay is going to rot. It's either the chickens are going to eat it or it's going to rot. And that's the problem that people have with putting hay on their garden beds, is like hay contains seed. And you're right, hay does contain seed. But when your chickens work it over, they eliminate all the seed. Between the rain, the snow, and the chickens, there's 0 seed left. At least 0 seed that's going to germinate. And I have the added benefit of the chickens pooping in it and chickens doing all the work. We have this bare soil right here, and the reason this is bare is because this is where I throw their food. If I threw their food on the product like that, of course it's going to get all tangled into the hay and it's going to rot if they don't find it. So I leave this area right here bare, so that's where I throw their food. Chickens like to scratch and peck. I have a bowl of food for them inside the coop too, but this is what chickens prefer, is open ground. They like to scratch and peck, so that's how I feed them. Now, you're seeing this soil. It looks nasty and inhospitable to plant growth, and that's correct. And the only difference between this soil right here and that soil right there is that is mulched. So you can see what this looks like right here. Now we're going to go over here, and I'm just going to pull this hay back here. Now, look at the difference, people. We haven't had rain for a week, and look, there's a millipede right there. This soil is damp, and we have not had rain. It may have been a week. It's been a week to 8 days since we've had any rain at all. There's a millipede right there. There's another millipede right there. And the soil is damp. I mean, you can see how damp it is. And if we went down just a little ways, we'd find worms. And the only difference between that soil over there and this soil here is the mulch. And of course, then we got little bits of poop and all that and everything that's in here as well. So there's a nice bit of poop there, and that's all going to break down. It's okay to put this directly on the garden because that poop is all going to be composted by the time I actually put it on the garden. And you see, the hay on this side is deeper than the hay is on this side, and there's a slope here. And what the hens usually do is they'll start over here and they'll work their way up the slope, kicking the hay from the high side of the ground to the low side of the ground. You know, they're using gravity. That's what those two are doing back there. And that's what they're going to do most of the time. So about every 4 or 5 days, the hay will be moved from this side over to that side, and I'll just come in here with my hands and just grab all the hay and throw it back to this side of the, you know, the top side of the yard. And then they move it back, and I move it back, and they move it back, and we do that for 6 months. So at the end of 6 months, you can just imagine how much poop is going to be in this hay. It's a tremendous amount, but it's already composted because it's been mixed in with this hay, so it's safe to put directly on the garden. You're not going to burn your plants with any kind of high nitrogen or anything like that. But the soil is so much healthier by having that wonderful byproduct on there. And I got those round bales for $20 each because they weren't good quality hay for feeding cows. They were just kind of scrub hay is what we call it. And the old boy had them sitting around. I noticed that they were sitting around in his yard for a few years, and I said, hey, you want to get rid of that? And he said, $20. I said, I'll take it. And he loaded it on the trailer for me, and I brought it home. So now I'm going to go outside the chicken yard, and I'm going to talk, what do you do if you don't have chickens to do all this work? If you don't have chickens to do the work, get some chickens. I mean, this is fantastic. They're giving me eggs, and they're doing this work for me. But anyway, if you can't have chickens, let's go talk about what you do. Chickens, no problem. Instead of letting the chickens do the work, we're going to let the weather do the work. So if you don't have chickens, you're going to have to buy the square bales because the round bales, hay sheds water. Even if the hay catches on fire, the round bales catches on fire, and the fire department shows up, even with those powerful hoses. It's very difficult. Once the fire is smoldering inside a hay bale, they can't even get it out because even with the pressure of a fire hose, it doesn't penetrate the hay bale very well. So what you got to do is you buy yourself the square bales. You know, they're about this long, about that tall, and they got two things of twine that hold them together. You cut that twine, and then a square bale of hay is comprised of flakes, and the flakes are going to be about that wide, and there's just going to be a whole bunch of flakes, and you know, all the way across the bale. So you get in there, you separate. There doesn't have to be a gap, but you just want to kind of open that hay bale up so all those flakes are exposed to the weather. Put it in one spot. You don't want to have to be able to move it around all over the place, so put it somewhere where it's going to be out of the way, and depending on how much mulch you're going to need is going to depend on how many you have to buy. But I buy alfalfa hay. The only reason I buy alfalfa hay is because the alfalfa has more nutrients in it than the grass hay, and I get it at a really good price because my Mennonite buddy has in his barn, he's got stacks of the alfalfa hay, and we go in the very, very back where the stuff's been sitting back there for 4 or 5 years getting nasty, and you know, the mice have been in it, and it's gotten all funky. And I say, Albert, I'll take the worst stuff you got, and he gives it to me for a good price. I bring it home, I cut it open, and I separate the flakes out, and then I just let the rain and the snow hit on that. In the summertime, of course, spring and summer, it's going to be rain, and then fall and winter, it's going to be rain and snow. And I'll let it sit there for that 6-month period, either spring and summer or fall and winter. And then, so my fall and winter hay is going to be my spring mulch, and my spring and summer hay is going to be my winter mulch. You definitely want to keep your soil mulched in the wintertime. Never let the soil be bare. Of course, you know, it's not going to have a problem staying damp in the winter. It's either going to be damp or it's going to be frozen. But that thick layer of mulch on there is going to help maintain the temperature of the soil, which is going to be better for the microbes, the earthworms, and the fungus, which is what we're trying to do. We want microbes, earthworms, and fungus. That's what makes plants grow. Earthworm castings is one of the finest products there is as far as fertilizer on the planet. You can't get much better than worm castings. So encourage worm growth. Mulch your garden beds, people. Thanks for watching. You have a great day, and we'll see you next time at Green Shower.